Hi, Masooma. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. For those of you who don't know, we've been at this for 20 minutes actually, and we had a few sound problems, possibly internet related, possibly um, software related. So we decided to pre-record the podcast and throw it up afterwards. Masooma, you've been in the States now for 2 years? Is that right?
5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but you weren't there in UCLA the whole 5 years,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. I joined UCLA back in 2018,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's about almost 2 years.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, this is where I got confused. But you've now gone through a couple of the years of the program. We got you
Yeah.
in 12 months ago to find out a little bit about how things were going. One of my first
Mm-hmm.
podcasts, still the most watched podcast, by the way. Um, so yeah,
This one will beat
yeah, we better beat it.
it.
Yeah, how have things progressed since last year?
Things been pretty nice. I think I've grown a lot as a dentist in regards of patient management. This was one of the aspects of dental school that I never learned before because before we were never responsible of taking care of patients. I mean, we did take care of the patients, but they were just assigned to us for a certain treatment procedure,
Mm,
but not like as a whole, as a patient. Like you are responsible for whatever they need.
yeah.
So that's something that I learned here in UCLA, and it's really important for a dentist to know how they will juggle all their patients when they're out in the real world practicing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's completely different, if as
Hmm.
opposed to bringing in a whole host of, I'm just going to do one filling and one filling on a patient because you don't get that idea of how to look after the patient. You get to
Hmm.
learn how to look after the tooth, but you don't learn to manage the person behind the tooth as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I think the key that we have to learn, that you're treating a human being, not
Mm,
a tooth. So as a whole, you need to take care of how their health conditions are, how they're going to react to certain things that you're doing, because not every patient has the same personality.
yeah.
Some will be very critical about the same thing that you do in a person who's going to be like, yeah, 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 it's all good. But then some people will like do not let go of one tiny thing that went wrong.
Yeah,
So
or
you
they're
need to learn
resistant.
all of
Yeah,
that.
they can be resistant to the
Hmm.
things you want them to do, brushing,
Hmm.
flossing, TPs, all these
Exactly.
kinds of
Hmm.
things. And if you just see them one time, then you never get to learn how to not convince them, but how to manage that personality.
Exactly. You need to learn how to have patients comply to what you are telling them, how
Mm,
you are educating them, and then you need that response from them.
yeah.
For that, you need to have that trust with that patient, and it all comes with patient management.
Yeah, and what are the things that this year you've been doing in the clinics? Obviously, things took a big hit, in the last couple of for 6 months even.
Hmm.
But what was supposed to be on the syllabus for the second year?
So I finished my first year. The last time we talked, I had just finished our preclinical, and since then we've been in clinics mainly as a third year. You're responsible for doing recalls, so hygiene recalls and treatment planning, where you bring a patient in every year for a periodic exam, where you
Mm,
go over every single tooth, the whole like periodontal treatment planning, restorative treatment planning. You go over everything, and then you start treating the patients one by one, of course. And then the Zoom quarter, as we call it, was when the COVID hit. And then
yeah,
we were doing, they tried to do a lot of clinical stuff over Zoom, but of course, there's so much in dentistry you can do online. So we were doing treatment plannings over that Zoom quarter. We had cases, and we had to do case presentations with the existing cases that we had in pros. Then what else did we do? Yeah, the same thing with perio. We had some
yeah,
cases online, and we just had to write down the treatment plan or take quizzes mainly. So it
yeah.
was
So more
more
like,
like that.
yeah, which is difficult because you want to learn to do things with the technical aspect. Although with the ASP, you guys are probably in a privileged position that most of you guys have done a degree abroad, so you've touched a tooth quite a few times. But um,
Yeah. Yes
Probably in
and
a better
no.
position. Mm,
Yeah, so like in my class, people were all of them are different at a different level of expertise. As
yeah,
me, I was just fresh out of dental school. Of course, I had drilled teeth before, so I did not have that anxiety of drilling and using the handpiece in the mouth for the first time. But
yeah,
again, I learned I'm still learning, and I think the restorative part of me as a dentist have grown a little bit more. Now I'm at a state where I am faster, I am more efficient in the clinic. So that's been, I think I have grown a lot,
yeah. I
and
mean,
I'm
that's
proud of it.
probably the same for any young clinician. You know, even if
Yeah.
you qualified from the UK, you're probably not going to feel comfortable for another 4 or 5 years outside of university because we don't see lots and lots of patients, unfortunately. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's probably very similar wherever you're going to be. You know, there's going to be things which you kind of get when you do it early on, but after a
Mm-hmm.
while, you'll get better at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's should we recap over the stuff we talked about last time, because I think we get so many questions about NBDE, TOEFL, and now INBDE, which is it's all changed into one exam now, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and then also you were talking about bench tests, right?
Yeah, so of course, for this cycle, things have changed a lot
Mm,
because a lot of the schools are not calling people in person for that bench exam and interview. Of course, interviews are being held virtually over Zoom,
yeah.
but then there are still some schools who are following SOPs for COVID and bringing in lesser amount of people for the bench exams. But
Okay, spreading them all
majority
out.
of the yeah, but majority of the schools, especially here in California, as we talk about UCSF, UCLA, and UOP, which is University of Pacific in San Francisco,
Yeah,
instead of the bench exam, I know that UOP is conducting a written exam. So
that's
like I have
worse.
no idea how, yeah, I have no idea how they're gonna like equate both of those things,
Yeah.
because before the I think at my time the decision was solely based, like majority of the decision was based on how you performed in that technical exam.
Yeah, because that is
But
it's most of dentistry. You know, you can write things down on a paper as much as you like, and there's probably I don't know, there's probably some weird guy out there who's not a dentist who knows loads of stuff about dentistry, who could probably pass that
yeah,
exam but couldn't do anything
mhm,
with a handpiece. So it does
of
make sense.
course,
I mean,
yeah.
I'd like to interview that guy if he's out there or girl.
Yeah, so and I don't know what they're gonna ask in that written exam. So I get messages on a daily basis that what should I prepare for that exam? How do we do it? And but of course I did not go through that
Mm,
experience, so I don't know. I've been trying to collect info from people I know who are interviewing right now.
yeah,
So if I have enough information that I can put out, I will definitely do it. But I think written exam would most probably will be on like a test, a case-based test.
yeah,
Everybody who's been studying for NBDEs probably know that there are testlets where they give you all the information about the patient. They're going to give you some x-rays, they're going to give you some clinical photos, and then they'll ask you to treatment plan the patient.
yeah,
Or if they have any pre-existing conditions, how are you going to take care of that patient? If you get any medical emergency in your dental chair, how are you going to deal with that? So
yeah,
I'm assuming it's going to be something like that.
yeah. So I mean, what were the things that you had to learn for your part one and part two NBD? Just so because I think it's going to be the same things. Like if I was an examiner
Hmm.
doing these things and I said, okay, well now we're changing the format, I
Hmm.
wouldn't be changing it completely. It would be the same
Hmm.
things, but instead of two parts, it's now one part. You know.
Yeah. So I think the preparation part of the exam would take a little bit longer, but the exam itself would not be as detailed as it was for part one and part two because they're like compressing everything together now.
Mm,
For part one, it was dental anatomy,
okay.
the general anatomy, physiology, and tooth morphology that we learn in our first year and second year of dental school, the
Yeah.
basic sciences.
The stuff that
Then,
I've completely forgotten.
yeah, it was a good refresher for me when I started studying for NBD one. There was biochemistry, tooth morphology, dental anatomy, all those basic things.
Yeah.
And then for part two, you get a lot of clinical stuff like restorative, pros, perio, all those kind of things, all
What
the
kind of
clinical stuff.
Yeah, what kind
Hmm.
of detail was it? Did you have to go into real detail, as in like studies and things like that, or is it just the overall knowledge of this is what you do, then this, and then this, or was it really, really like academic?
So for me, of course, I took my part one and part two before I joined UCLA. So
Mm,
I was basing my knowledge off of what I had learned before in Pakistan. So
yeah,
I had to like shift my gears on learning how they teach over here in the US. So for me, I had to do everything, and then I am a little paranoid, so I was over prepared, kind of. But of
better.
course, I couldn't take a chance. I cannot take
Mm,
a chance on that. And not as in studies, but then you have these study materials. So you just go over that. The main study guide would be dental decks for part one and part two. Maybe they
yeah,
will come out with dental decks for INBDE. I'm not very sure about it. Then I used to use these study guides that people themselves from the past. So it helped out a lot. There are a lot of Facebook groups for NBDE where a lot of people get together, they discuss questions, they debate on it. So I think that was one of the parts that helped me out a lot. In those questions discussion, when you do a discussion on a question, you look up the information yourself to justify the answer that you're putting in. So all that research that goes in answering one question, it helps you train your mind to reason with the question that you're getting on the exam.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense. It's
Mm-hmm.
very
Yeah.
similar to a lot of exams that I'm sure people have taken in the past, where you have past papers or somebody's come out of the exam and they write down everything that they can
Hmm.
remember, and then you
Yeah.
start collating a big um,
Like a
folder.
file
Yeah,
type of thing. Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
had a I collated this huge Google Drive doc, and there must have
Mm.
been a couple of 100 gigabytes of documents people had sent around. I just got all of them, put them all in one place. I didn't get through everything.
I have a Google account. I have a Google account that is Rizvi NBDE
Yeah.
something Gmail, and I have all of my NBDE folders on there. So whoever asks me for study guide, I just give them the drive link. Just take whatever you want because it has a lot of information. On my YouTube, I have these playlists for NBDE, anatomy, physiology, everything. So anyone who wants it can use it. It's public.
Yeah,
For part two, for people class right now, like the traditional DDS students, they're taking their part two right now. So they are going through this, what is it called? It's a YouTube channel for videos for, I think it's dental mastery or something like that for
right.
part two, for NBD part two. And they're like, you just do those videos and that's it.
Not bad. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And for me per se, NBD part two was a little bit difficult because my clinical judgments at that time were not that great. But since I have joined UCLA, I have taken the classes. They are training us in a way where we're able to take NBD part two very nicely. So it's very much
Right.
case related stuff, not
Yeah, which
theoretical part of things.
which
Yeah,
is much
they
more preferable.
Yes. So, and I've heard from people like I spent 6 months studying for NBD part two, but here people are like, yeah, in this 1 week break, we'll just study for part two and take the exam because they're trained that way. And I see it. If I had to take it now, I think I wouldn't spend 6 months studying for it. Just
Mm,
keep the preparation for your part two or your INBDE for those clinical aspects more on the patients and cases. Like, think about a patient who has these problems. How are you going to treat that patient?
right.
Just
Yeah.
train your mind that way.
Yeah. It makes sense. It all makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah,
Um, would you say it's a fair exam?
fair.
As in, like, was a fair level of exam to have, or was it unfair level of exam to have? Like, would you say it was too hard, or was it just right?
NBD part one was, for me, I was over prepared. So it was a piece of cake for me. I knew the second I came out of that exam, I knew I'll pass.
Right.
But for part two, my clinical skills were not that efficient. So until I got that pass in writing, I wasn't sure what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Because for me, in dental school back home, periodontics was not a very well taught subject. All I knew about perio was scaling, and
Just
that's
do that.
it.
Just do that.
Yeah, that's it. I hadn't even done SRPs before, like scaling root planing. I had never done those before. So I
Hmm.
think that was one of the part which was majority of my NBD part two, perio surgeries.
That's
And
crazy. That's crazy.
yeah. And so I think that was all which now I'm applying for perio residencies. And that's one of the biggest part of my love for perio, that I wanted to learn more about the thing that was lacking in my dental education. So I joined that preceptorship in UCLA for perio. And then I loved it so much that I want to do it for the rest of my life.
Why do you think that perio wasn't taught so well in Pakistan? Without
It's
getting
gonna
anyone in
be a
trouble.
fun. It's
Without.
okay. I'm not associated with them more. Anyway, I don't think the teachers knew it themselves.
Right.
I'm gonna be
Because
very
no,
honest. Yeah.
it's something I ask because I have had patients who've come back from, having had work done in Pakistan. There was a guy who was missing a gap in the front, and they just stuck a random guy's bridge over the top of what was there.
I'm not surprised.
I'd never seen anything like this. I don't think I ever will see anything like this. And obviously, it failed and failed catastrophically. Instead of losing one tooth, he lost four. Uh, and
I'm
there
not
was rampant
surprised.
perio. Mm,
Mhm. Like we would get patients back there where they would just go to these random people who would just tie some acrylic teeth with cold cure acrylic in the mouth.
mm,
And then when that cold cure sets, of course, it generates heat. And now all of your gums are busted. So now it's all gone. Now you have full mouth extraction case right in front of you.
yeah.
So, and then they would, I owe my dentistry to my school in
No,
Pakistan.
no, we're
Yes,
not
I
being.
do.
It's a different world. This is the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
different world, and I think that's what people need to understand. I mean, for if you can get a cheap denture for a couple of, maybe $1 in Pakistan, that's more than a lot of people's wages and things like that. So you can't think of it
yeah,
in the same breath
yeah,
as a $20,000 denture case in the States or in the UK, which
yeah,
it's a different world. Even though there are some, well off places in Pakistan, there are also some very less well off areas as well.
yeah. But
So,
now things are changing there too. Like I know personally people from my own school, they're doing perio residencies right now. But of course, they're not in Dow, they're in other universities. It's like
mm,
private programs and all those kind of things. But I'm glad that they're doing it. There will be some periodontists in Pakistan in the future, and I'm very happy for that because
yeah,
we need to teach dental students how important periodontal health is in order to save those teeth that you're just going to lose because you're not cleaning your teeth right. So
yeah.
it's very important. Like myself, I had never gotten SRPs done, and my doctor here when I was working as a dental assistant, he's like, how are you a doctor, Masooma?
Oh dear. Yeah.
I
No,
so I,
it's
I I didn't know any better, so it's not my fault.
well, this is the thing. You only know what you're taught unless you decide to look at
Exactly.
elsewhere. And if I suppose if your clinical tutors and directors and stuff aren't signposting something, then you're not going to look for something that's not going to be examined.
Yeah, I never knew the importance of using hand scalers. Like Gracie curettes are a lifesaver when it comes to scaling root planing. And all I knew was, okay, how to identify 13, 14 from 15, 16 for Viva. That's all. Like I'm being very honest, but now I am doing SRPs in patients and I see the results right in front of my eyes. Like
Yeah.
I did SRPs on my mother-in-law. Of course, she's from Pakistan, and back there, no one takes care of all these kind of things. And then when I did it, and now she feels immense difference in her gum health, and she can taste her food better.
Yeah.
She tells me this. Yeah, and it's amazing.
There's probably some sort of reaction with, saliva gland openings, something like that. Maybe
N-
if
Maybe,
there was some
I
block,
don't
it,
know.
it depends how much the calculus was. Because I've seen some cases
There
where
was a lot.
if
So there in UCLA, you have to like case assess and comp your procedures, which mean that you have to do it without any help.
hmm,
So, and for that, a patient has to have more than 8 surfaces of heavy calculus. So she qualified for my comp, and then I did it, and I passed it, and it was amazing. It
yeah.
was it was like a bloodbath in there, but that's what I like. I'm sorry, I sound very gross, but I like
We're
it.
I doubt there's going to be many patients listening to this, and if they are, then thank you for joining us. But yeah, I think dentists understand, that big scale, and how satisfying it can be, and also how messy it
It
can be.
is. Yeah. And very honest, like I love bloody mouths and I love doing all this stuff,
I
but
I don't quite like it, which is why I'm the endo side of
you're
things.
more, yeah. I'm very sorry. I cannot do endo. I'll refer all my endos to you. I do not want to do endos
That's
in
going to
my
be an expensive
I
endo with the
do
plane
like
flight.
central.
Yeah,
Just that I cannot do something that I cannot see. Maybe I'll get good at it.
we'll
We
see.
don't have a lot of endo patients in UCLA, so I've only done a premolar endo on a patient, and
Mm.
that's all I've done so far.
I
So
really like premolars. You don't tend to get many surprises with a premolar, whereas you will with
I got a surprise.
what
Maybe
happened?
because I don't like it.
What happened?
On the obturation appointment, we found another canal in that tooth. It's like what?
So how many do you end up? It should be two normally.
Yeah, but then the teacher should have told me that. Oh yeah, and you don't have. You should look for the second one when you're doing your cleaning and shaping. Like no, no,
Hmm.
no, you don't have the second one. Go ahead. I'm like okay.
Yeah, and you're thinking that's less work.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
less work for me. I'm fine with that.
Exactly. I need to get out of endo clinic.
Yeah. No, I think endo is one of those things. You either love it or you really, really don't love it. There's no one who just likes, oh yeah, I'll do one every now and then. It's either I want to do it all the time, or I would rather somebody else does all of my endo. I think it's the same with
Yes.
perio as well.
Yeah. I would love to do peri all day, every day.
So why did you have this propensity towards perio then? What made you kind of tick? I know you said that you didn't really learn a lot about it in your undergrad. Is that why, or is there
Mhm.
anything else that you went in there and you thought, wow?
So when I was in my preceptorship program for perio, it it made me realize how important that periodontal health is and what changes all those pocket reduction surgeries can bring, and even like regular SRPs. Even when you're doing regular SRPs, it makes so much difference
Hmm.
in patients' periodontal health. And then a mobile tooth is not mobile anymore. Of course, I'm not talking about a grade 3 mobility, but when a patient is compliant with you, when you're doing good SRPs, when you follow up with your patients, you get to save so many teeth. And what's better than that?
Yeah, which is similar
So,
to endo in a way, because a lot of people would just like to whip it out and put an implant in, and
mm,
we're giving something the last chance. But yours is
yeah.
in a different way.
Like I would love to be able to place implants in the future, but of course, I would love to save teeth too. Nothing. I get it. Implants are the best treatment to replace a tooth right now, but a natural tooth cannot be replaced to its like 100% capacity.
Mm.
That's what I think. You
Yeah,
have to save that tooth.
I always think that's
So
a funny comparison to make, saying an implant has a good, high success rates, which it does, but if you're giving the patient their tooth for another 10, 15, 20 years, their own tooth, it's cheaper
yeah,
and they can feel
exactly.
something, because an implant you're not going to
Hmm.
get proprioception and the same way you will
Yep.
with a
Hmm.
tooth. um
Hmm.
and I don't know, I would prefer to save an actual tooth as opposed to just whipping them out left, right, and center.
Yeah, people usually like there's this trend now of Googling everything or watching what's gonna happen over YouTube, and
Mm.
people just watch that placement of the implant and how it's restored in one visit. You take the tooth out, put an implant in, bone graft in same day, crown delivery, bam, it's all done. But they don't tell you what are the factors that goes into it, and
Yeah.
maybe if you are a good candidate for it or not. Like I have a patient right now who needs implant assisted overdentures, but he has a lot of health issues. And then he comes to me and he's like, "Oh, but I watched it in the video. They do it." I'm like, I understand that they do it, but these are the factors that you need to consider.
Yeah.
They don't tell you the longevity of those implants because we see patients who come with peri-implantitis and you have to take those implants out. What are you going to do then?
Yeah,
Save
there's
your
so
teeth.
many things that can go wrong, and once you've failed, had a failed site, then you have to do corrective surgery.
Manage that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bigger pain.
Here's something that I'm really into at the moment and almost obsessed with is nutrition, healing with perio and endo. Is that something that you're
Yeah.
aware of? Because what was I reading about? I think it was vitamin D or one of the vitamins. I'm pretty sure it's vitamin
C.
D.
D or C?
Let
I'm not sure.
let me just check because I wrote a post about it because there was a whole thing about COVID and
Mm-hmm.
BAME, which is Black, Asian, ethnic minority people, so
Mm-hmm.
who are more susceptible to COVID because of a low vitamin D, because it's
Oh,
correlated with um, your immunity. And obviously, if we're going into
okay.
northern climates, we get less
Mm-hmm.
UV because of the melanin in the skin,
Yep. Yep.
which means
Yep.
we have a deficiency in vitamin D compared to a Caucasian person, which obviously is not
Mm-hmm.
an issue when you're living in the equator. And you in LA, you're probably going to be okay. But if you move towards like
Yeah, we
Detroit,
have excessive vitamin D.
yeah. But if you go to Detroit, Canada, that kind of area, then there'll be,
Yeah,
if there's any Asian, Asian, Indian, Asian, or African person, they're going to be very, very
susceptible.
susceptible, and it's like a 4 times increase of
Oh,
complications with COVID. But there was also a correlation with dental disease. Let me find it again. Um,
that's very interesting. I would like to read that article.
I did a post. I think it's here. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Vitamin D dental relevance. There's evidence of a link between deficiency and increased level of periodontal disease and bone metabolism, and the effects on
Mm-hmm.
bone density has also implications for implant osseointegration. And
Of course.
this was because of reduced vitamin D. So,
Yeah.
the same way, if you're not thinking about vitamin D or other micronutrients, you maybe that's why your endo failed, or that's why your implant failed, or that's why your perio treatment failed.
How is it related to failing endo? I understand that you need osseointegration and vitamin D for an
Hmm.
implant to be able to osseointegrate, right?
Well, you still
But
have,
how is it related to endo?
for example, bony infill. You still need the
Uh-huh.
osteoblast osteoclast relationship to work well, and if that's
Oh,
impaired,
after.
yeah, then it's
Okay,
still,
after those
yeah,
pearl lesions and whatnot, you need that bone fill. Okay, I
yeah,
understand. Oh, nice.
really, really
Very nice.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because I just saw, everyone was going crazy about it, and everyone who, well, everyone that I knew was buying up vitamin D from
Mm-hmm.
Amazon. It was out of stock everywhere. And I thought, oh, I wonder if it has dental relevance. And then it's like, oh, wow, it does. It's a
Nice.
big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did speak to an implant surgeon,
Mm-hmm.
and he does a blood test to check before he puts anything in.
Wow.
So it makes a
Oh,
big
wow.
difference. Yeah.
Unless you're an oral surgery clinic, they don't do your CBCs or anything like that. But that's such a
No.
nice thing. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, I mean, that's just some weird random information I have.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to our NBD part.
Yeah. So where did we where did we land? I think we spoke about NBD. To be honest, we had a couple of the um, resources that you mentioned. There's a YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
apps that
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about as well. But what about TOEFL, TOEFL, whatever you call it?
TOEFL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one.
TOEFL. Yeah. So TOEFL is like as compared to NBD, it's not a big deal. But then, uh, what my perspective of TOEFL was that, oh yeah, my English is okay. I don't need to prepare that much. But then you need a very good score to be a competitive applicant when you're applying to tap it. And
Mm,
it's not your daily life English that they're testing. It's more like the textbook English,
right.
how you read a textbook and how you comprehend it, and then how mostly the listening part of TOEFL used to be interactions between a student and a teacher, and then they would ask you to comprehend that. So I think they're just trying to figure out how good of a student you will be since English is not your first language.
Right.
Yeah, so it's more like textbook English skills.
Because they might want people doing
And
academic papers. They might want
yeah,
people, in that kind of a level of bracket,
mhm,
not just,
exactly.
I can watch an
It's
American
not
Western film and understand what's going on. Yeah.
exactly. And then for me, the things that I used were a book called Princeton Review for TOEFL. It's a very big book, but I didn't read the whole of it. I just did the practice exams in it.
Yeah.
And the book comes with a CD that and it has exams as well, like just practice exams. And then on TOEFL IBT website, they have these whole online practice exams.
Yeah.
I think there are 6 of it. So I used to solve all of it. And my main source of studying and getting all the skill set was a YouTube channel called Noteful Mastery,
Yeah.
and they have these playlists of speaking section, listening section, writing section, all of that. So it was good.
Yeah. And actually, I
Mhm.
did I did see not so recently. There's something called INBDE podcast, which for the guys who want to check that out, that might be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah.
just remembered that. Uh,
Mm.
off the, I have lots of random information flying around in my head,
I
and I don't
I really want to talk to someone who has taken an INBD and find out how like
how it
eh,
was.
how it
Yeah.
was, and then compare it to 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think I need to do that as well at some point because I'm still getting well, not hundreds, but too many requests about something, an exam that I've never taken, uh, and that's very difficult for me to say. I find it hard to say I don't know, and then just find someone who does
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
don't think people who I don't know if anyone has taken it because since traveling is not allowed right now, not many people are traveling to the US. So I don't know. I know a lot of people who are taking part two, but
yeah,
I don't know who's taking INBD.
I spoke to a few people who are preparing, but that's not
Oh
much
yeah?
use for us because
No.
we don't know how the exam is, and that's what we want to know really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, or that's what we're gonna have a podcast about or a video about to get that information out there for people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah. Um,
I got a question on Instagram and I put a poll up,
all right.
and they asked me why did I choose advanced standing program versus AGD program, which is a residency program. AGD stands for Advanced Education in General Dentistry, and it's a residency program. So for me, I wanted to be here in California forever. I think so. I'll be here forever. So in
Even with
California,
the
even with
fires
the
and the
fire. So if you do a residency as an international dentist, you cannot be licensed to practice on your own in California. So since my plans were to stay here, so I chose DDS over any residency program as an
yeah,
international candidate. It depends on you, for example, and if I were to do a residency instead of DDS, I would probably just do perio instead of AGD. AGD was never in the plans for me, nor it is right now, because it's
yeah,
my dental school second time, so I think it's my AGD right now. So I don't think
yeah.
that I
Because
need that.
you'll already have that base level of hand
Yeah.
skills, and now
Mhm.
you're having the second time round with experienced guys looking over your shoulder,
Mhm.
and you can obviously start to do perio for the first time, but everything else you've done before.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that was my main reason. If you plan on living in state, there are some states in the US where you can directly start working with just a residency as an international dentist. So
yeah.
if you are flexible on moving around the state, um, you can probably do it. It's your choice. For me, it was never in the plans because of the laws here in California.
Yeah, I think that's the really difficult thing, isn't it? Because I looked into doing the endo program, um, and I would really like to do it, abroad because I think it'd be interesting to live somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things put me off was the price. Is one thing, we're talking a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I do it in the UK, I can potentially live close to home, potentially,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
depending on where I do it. But also, if you move to a whole new country, then you have to take, house and car and all these other things that you don't have to currently pay for. You have to pay for
Yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, what was the other thing? Yeah, you can't work in every state, which is really strange. So you're limited to 14 states, I think.
Yeah, dental laws here in the US are very complicated. So you have to make right decisions right now. Like we're in a decision of taking our dental license exam.
Mm,
So there are two types of dental licensures that you can do, and then both of them cover different states. So you have to pick. Like if you're not sure where you're gonna end up, you take one. If you know where you're gonna be, you take another one.
yeah.
So it's very complicated when it comes to that. Do you want me to answer some of these questions that I got?
Yeah, shout out the question. We'll discuss each one.
Okay, so what made you choose advanced standing program rather than AGD? I just talked about it. What things can you do to improve your resume? Just keep working. Don't sit. I get it. You have to sit at home. Now it's COVID.
Yeah.
So if you are
I
at
bought this
home,
chair
just
to sit in.
keep. Wow, good investment.
And the
So just
and the sign.
and the neon sign.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, really good question. That really good question.
Yes. So keep yourself busy, keep yourself educated. There are so many CE courses being offered online these days that I think it's the perfect time for people who are in the process of applying to dental school. Keep yourself updated, especially now with COVID and the guidelines of dentistry changing. Keep yourself aware of the things because um, I think your education reflects when you're interviewing for schools a lot.
Mm,
They're going to you about how are you going to take care of this, how are you going to take care of that. So if you're aware on current dental education, I think you're going to be much more prepared in order to have that nice successful interview. I know that a lot of people have reached out to me about preceptorship programs in UCLA and schools here. As far as UCLA is considered, they're not taking any preceptors right now because in school we're like limited number of people.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, we are working on 50% capacity, so we cannot be booking every chair. It's like half of the chairs are not being booked because we need
Are they
to
doing
have that
longer hours?
longer hours. Now beginning this quarter we're going to have extra hours of clinic like Friday afternoons and Thursday nights, but again it's like half of the chairs you cannot book, and
Mm,
everyone's in the race of graduating right now. So yeah, so no preceptorships right now. Sorry to everyone who has been applied. It's very, I know it's very unfortunate, and just make a use of online courses as much as you can.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think interviewing and making up a CV, there's only so much. I think there's probably a minimum amount you need. Obviously, if you have a master's or something, then it's gonna look great. But um, I think a lot of the time they kind of put you on an even keel, and then they interview you and see whether they just like you. Full stop. Because they have to.
They in interview they're more like um judging how you're gonna fit in
Yeah.
their program with other people.
Do they like you as a person to teach? That's what I usually say to someone.
If you're a teachable, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is something that people from different cultures may struggle with because there's certainly in Indian Pakistani culture for sure there's an emphasis on just knowing everything.
I know everything. No one's better than I am.
Like, yeah, oh,
Yeah.
I read this book and then read the book and I read this and I read that, and telling everyone that you did this as well. And people in the West don't like that. That's the opposite of how you want to come across, because it seems like
Yeah.
you're um I don't know what the
Be
word is,
confident,
but
but don't be overconfident.
yeah, you keep your
There's a
confidence
slight
inside.
difference.
Keep it inside.
Exactly. Humble. Be humble with everything that you know.
Yeah.
Like everyone know that when you get that interview, everyone know that how much hard work have you put in just to get to that point. But then at the same time, you have to stay humble and tell them that you need to learn more. You need to improve yourself as a
Mm,
dental clinician. Not like I'm the best dental practitioner out there and you need me,
yeah.
rather than yeah,
I
I
really
yeah.
noticed it with the features. because I think I've coming up to 2,000 features now.
Oh, yeah, I
I
understand.
ask an American dental student or an American dentist for just an example for for a bio, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, I love surfing and I like walking in the park and stuff like that. And then
Hmm.
from certain other places, I can say this because I'm half Indian as well, so I'm not being racist, don't worry. But but you'll get the CV. You'll get, I got the medallion for this, and I was first in the class, and then I got a
Wow.
mention from
Yeah,
this politician and that politician, and so I don't know anything about you. This is just random things.
yeah.
I posted it anyway
Hmm.
because I couldn't be bothered to argue and
Of course.
get something else from
Yeah,
them. But it shows you the big difference between the cultures, and it's not me being
yeah.
mean or something. This is just the difference between cultures.
Just how we're raised. Yeah,
Mm,
I understand. I come from the same kind of culture, so I know.
both sides.
And the people that I interact with, when you give advice to someone who's like more open to learning, and then someone who's like, no, 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 just tell me how can I just get past the step.
Yeah.
But then I don't know how to get past that step because I took that step, you know? So yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Again, it's not me being
Uh,
nasty. It's just something that I
no,
noticed.
no.
If you
Yeah.
notice something, I always try and comment on something because it's interesting.
Mhm. Yep. All right, let's move on to the next question.
Yeah,
Which subject is the hardest for NBDE part 2? So again, I think I discussed all of that. Perio surgeries for me was very, very difficult to understand because I had never done it or seen it in person. All I knew was just theoretical stuff.
yeah,
And my part 2 was filled with perio surgery questions. So it was very hard for me. And but thankfully now with UCLA's education, I think I want to do
leveled
it for
up.
the rest of my life. I
Yeah,
cannot, yeah, I cannot like say it any better.
yeah, and I think that question is going to be different for everyone. The answer to that question, because
Yeah.
everybody's going to have their own strength, everybody's
Mhm.
going to have their own weakness already. So just like you say, you had a little bit of a weakness in perio. It might be somebody's come from, I don't know, Switzerland, and their perio level is really really good, and maybe
Yeah.
they're just not very good at dentures or something. It could be
Hmm.
something completely different. So
Yeah.
a lot of these questions you tend to get about what's the hardest bit, it's down to kind of who
It
you are
depends on
already.
you. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
you're not gonna necessarily get the similar kind of exam as I did because I took my exam 3 years ago, and there have been
yeah,
so many changes after that. So it just depends on, yeah, exactly how your education is, how your background is, how much have you prepared for something. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Next one. Research, paperwork, and paper presentations get you into dental school. True.
maybe.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. Maybe. It's not like if you haven't done any research work, you're not gonna get into dental school. Again, I say this all the time. It's the whole package.
Yeah,
It's not like, yeah, just do research and you're going to get into dental school. No, that's not it. Do research, focus on your clinical stuff as well, keep yourself educated, be humble. So, when I was applying, there was this one thing that everyone used to say to me: you have to sell yourself. So, now, whatever that you've done, how you present it to the other person, that's what gets you into dental school. At my time, I used to say practice for your bench exam a lot, but now we don't have bench exams.
yeah, it's changed.
So
Yeah.
mhm,
Would you say
it's on how you. Mhm.
would you say maybe all those kinds of things in the question, they might help you get that interview, but then as soon as you get the
Yes.
interview accepted, then you're back to
Mhm.
square zero, and
Yeah,
you've got to
you're
show
right.
yourself again.
So again, the research background for you as a dental student or a dentist, it just tells other people that you like to stay educated.
Mm,
You try to make a difference, or you are trying to improve yourself by finding something out through that research.
yeah, totally.
So it's part of that. So if you are doing some community work where you're helping the community because you have that personality of helping other people rather than just sitting in a lab and doing research, it's not, no one's gonna hold it against you that, oh, why are you doing this for the community and not doing research? So
Mm,
it's like what you like to do. I had never done research before in the true sense back in Pakistan, and when I started doing it here, I really liked it to a point where when I was not getting my interviews for DDS, I was like, yeah, I'm okay with doing an oral biology, a master's in oral biology because I love doing dental research,
yeah.
and I did not do a lot of community work. So, so it's like that. It's not like I don't like to give back to the community or whatnot, but it's like I
You went in a
enjoyed
different
doing the
direction.
exactly. I enjoyed doing that thing more. And then that's how I came across when I was interviewing that this is something I like. That's why I spent my life doing that. And I love doing dentistry, so I want to improve and learn more to
Mm.
become a better dentist.
Yeah, it all makes sense, doesn't it?
And
You know, you if you follow stuff that you actually enjoy, you'll come across as genuine. If you're
now,
doing things because it's going to look on paper good on paper, when they ask you about it, it's going to sound like you did it because it looks good on paper.
yeah, and there's no shame in admitting your weaknesses and the lack in your dental education or something that you don't know. I put it down on my application for UCLA. They had asked me a question, what are the challenges that you think you might face in UCLA? So I told them that I have never done any crown preps in my dental school, and I know that there's a lot of focus in America for crowns and all of that, and I have never
Mm,
done it, but I am overcoming that by practicing it over and over again, taking courses in bench, like for my bench exam, I had to learn how to do a crown prep. So I told them I came across right now too, like when I'm doing any crowns in my clinic, I tell the faculty I haven't done this before. Because
yeah,
sometimes they would be like, oh, yeah, oh, so you're a PPID, so you know how to do it. Like, but I never done this. I have never done this before. So it's
yeah,
okay to accept something that you don't know and show that you want to learn.
yeah. By that point, you're already in the program as well, so it doesn't really matter.
But I told them before I was in the program, so
Yeah.
it's like it just embrace your weaknesses and your strengths. Don't be like I know everything and you don't need to teach me anything anymore.
No, it all kind of, I think a lot of these things we're saying is very very similar to the last point and the last point, isn't it? Of being like honest and humble and down to earth and open
Yeah.
about your level.
Yeah, don't be fake on paper. Don't be like, oh, I did this and I did that, and then when they ask you in the interview, oh, tell me about it. Now you have
Mm,
nothing to say about it because you never did it. So
yeah, exactly. Any more questions we had?
there were some questions about where you did undergrad and all that, but we covered all of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think it's in the description of the video, or it will be.
mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's it's interesting. Always hearing about um, how different places have, like you say, you didn't do many of certain things and you did lots of other things. It's just interesting to see the differences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did so many extractions back in Pakistan, and now so far I've done 4 in US. So
Let's put that back. Yeah, I think it's yeah, I think it's similar to here, where I did lots of endo actually in uni, and people in my class didn't do that much.
oh,
So it
okay.
just depended, because we were like similar to you in the UCLA. We had the patient from start to finish,
Mhm.
so it just depended what you got, and
Yeah,
there
so
wasn't.
now I don't have any endos in my patient pool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's one of those. If you got loads of endos, and I kind of chased them a little bit. I was looking for cases with endos and took them on because
Mhm.
I don't know, it just seemed cool to me. And you get to play around with big microscopes and
Mm.
these little
Do you
little
have
things.
microscopes in your practice?
I have one. It's currently
Wow.
boxed up because I'm not working, but because I'm
Yeah.
a YouTuber now, so
So when do you think you guys are gonna be back up in England?
um, most people are back at work,
Oh,
but
okay.
I thought I would take this opportunity of, everything's a bit slow and a bit weird, to try and do something different. So I will
Do
go
you
back.
enjoy this? Do you enjoy this more?
I love that I can mess around with cameras and I can, I have a
Mm,
DSLR which is bringing this video feed.
mm,
I have a neat, really, really nice microphone. I don't know if you guys can see it.
mhm.
I just dropped my phone.
We can
Whoops.
definitely hear it.
Uh, let's just put that down. I've just dropped a lot of things on the floor. The wires. But I like that I can use all these things, and I like talking to people,
Hmm.
um, and getting the different stories out there. I don't know if you've ever seen on Facebook Humans of New York.
I have.
This was the idea behind Dentists of
Mm.
Insta. It was
Oh.
supposed to be, you know, yes, you're all dentists, but what is like, I don't know, your story, like your real
Mm.
story, not like,
Yeah.
oh, I did this treatment because, once someone said, oh yeah, I did an endo,
Mm-hmm.
and they've shown us how they did the endo, I can't do that again because it's going to be the same, and it's going to be the
Yeah.
same, and it's going to be the same. Because at
Yeah.
some point you're just gonna be like, well, that's the end of this channel because
Mm-hmm.
we spoke about peri, we spoke about endo, we spoke about a crown, we did an implant, we did a bit of
There's a
perio
human
surgery.
being behind it.
I know, but we're gonna run out of
Yeah.
treatment, so there'd be 20
Yeah.
videos, and that would be that
Mm-hmm.
finished, and you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do anything extra. That's how I
Yeah.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but stories, your story isn't going to be the same as, I don't know, somebody in your class and
Yep.
somebody in the
Yeah.
10, 12 different stories. As literally, I could, if people agree to it, I could do one of these every day,
Wow.
which would be crazy and
Nice.
really, really fun. Um, so
Whatever
that's
you
the
enjoy
idea.
doing, just focus your energy on that.
Yeah, and I do like the dentistry. Don't get me wrong, but
No, I can.
there's more to it than just that the tooth.
Yep. Yep. There is a whole human being behind that.
Yeah, on the other side of
Who's,
the chair,
yeah.
not the one lying down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not the one lying
Well, we don't care about the
down.
one lying
Yeah.
down. Actually, we're just the other one.
Oh, all
So
right.
that's part of it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let me check my notes. Let's see what
Yep.
we had on there. Um,
I think I've talked a lot about how the application goes. There's so much information on my Instagram on how the
yeah,
application is. So I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think the best thing to do is, guys, if you want to know more about that, read the posts.
I have a whole
Like a
oh,
series.
I have a whole highlight.
Mm.
Yeah, I have a whole highlight on my Instagram going over the whole application. There's a YouTube video that we did for a CAPID webinar that we did when we just quarantined, so we had nothing to do, so we did that.
Yeah,
And so that's a very thorough webinar. Like we went from step A to Z.
yeah,
So yeah.
that would be really useful. So I think the best thing for guys who want to know more about NBDE, all of these things, I know that it is changing, as we speak, which is a bit difficult, but I think it's a lot going to be the same. Have a look at all those posts and read all of them first, and then ask some
Hmm.
questions if there's something that's not been covered. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Just one request to everyone who's listening, just like in the messages that you guys send to me, just don't say how does it work? Can you please tell me about it? Because there's so much that goes into it. Even if you type it on Google, just cap it, there's gonna be like 50 million things that you're gonna see.
yeah,
So just tell me a little bit about you, what you're doing, what you want to know from me. Do you need help with anything? Things like that. Like
yeah.
so like
Not a
there's so
general
much I can do
question,
over
like a
DMs.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And sometimes when I'm in school I can like get really late replying back to everybody, but I'm on a break for 1 week, so I'll be getting back to a lot of
you'll
people
get
now.
through quite a few. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think what's interesting questions to ask is if you went back to talk to your 18-year-old self, just before you went to undergrad, what are you going to tell young Masooma? The big tip.
At that time, I think I would be like, um, don't do dental school back home. Just come here and then do it from scratch. Like go to undergrad here, then go to dental school.
Would that be cheaper, do you think?
There was,
Or would that be more expensive?
I'd be taking loans regardless. So No, but yeah, see,
Yeah.
here there are community colleges that you go to, and it's very, very cheap. And then you go to dental school. So my international 2-year program is a little bit more expensive than the 4-year DDS
In
program.
total.
Yeah, in
Oh
total.
wow.
Yep. And then there are so many. So they consider us as a self-funding program. So they didn't refund our money back when we didn't go to school during COVID. Um, there's so many things that goes into it.
Mm.
We're not eligible for a lot of services provided by University of California because we're a self-funding program. um and other than like money situation, I would rather just do all of my education here all at once rather than spending
Here and
time in
there.
that adjustment period. Yeah, adjustment period for me was quite long because as a person I don't really like change. I'm very comfortable in my current situation. Like
Yeah.
I don't like I get a little antsy about meeting new people, getting a change of scenery, like not a change of scenery, but like change of situations around me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I, but again, getting out of the comfort zone is the key to growth. And I think I have grown a lot, but going back to 18-year-old self, I would be like, let's just go and do everything over there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because part of me thinks, oh, it would be really good to get two different types of teaching, and then part of me thinks, well, you may as
Hmm.
well just learn it all in one place and get it done with, finished quickly done, and go start working or whatever you want to do.
It's very, I don't know if I should say it or not. Some of my dental education was very good, but then the quality of education that I got here,
It's
I'm
higher.
very
Yeah,
grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. It motivates me to learn more. Back home, I was like, let's just get this over with. I don't want to do it anymore.
mm. Part
Things
part
like
of
that.
that can be age as well, because I know I had a good teaching experience in Newcastle, but the whole time I think, let me just get it finished with. I can't be bothered. Just let me just get through uni and then I'll see. But it could be because I was
Mm,
younger, and now I
mm.
actually want to learn things.
I wouldn't say that because I'm a very big nerd and I like studying, but it's like the te I should not say that about teachers, but they would just tell us, read this book from this point to this point, leave this one paragraph, do this, do this. They would they would tell us to study for the exam,
Mm.
not to become a dental practitioner.
Right. Yeah. It's
If
it's
that
it's the
makes sense.
same thing we talked about, the difference in culture of teaching in one place to another. Yeah,
So here
and that's not
I
that to be mean.
now I know
Yeah.
things. Now I know things. I'm not just studying to pass my quizzes.
Mm.
It makes so much sense
You can
now.
action the information a bit better.
Yeah, exactly. So the quality of education, I'm very grateful that I'm here. During the week, I get very, I'm big B, complaining about everything that's going on
Yeah.
in school. But I'm very grateful that I'm in a very good school and not in a very good environment, but in a very good school with very good education.
Yeah. How's
So
how's the environment one where you are? Are you taking no?
very political, very
I
political.
was
I don't
saying
like
literally.
people who say
I
something.
was saying literally the
No,
environment, the air that you're breathing.
no. I cannot wait to graduate and get out, but
Mm.
it's just that people don't say things that they mean, and they would say something that they don't mean, and then it's all confusing.
Just the other difference between the two cultures. You people are much more straight up if they don't like you in the face or something. They'll say it to you in back home, whereas maybe in the Western culture you don't
Yeah,
say it.
exactly.
You don't say it.
Mm-mm.
You just hint with like tone undertones. It's between
Yeah,
reading
so
between
it's
the
very
lines.
bad.
But I was actually asking literally about the environment because I saw the last couple of weeks
Oh, the
the fires,
fires?
the air. I was
Oh,
literally talking about the environment.
oh. So around our city right
Yeah.
now, it's better. Up north a little bit, it's still smoky. Like past week or prior to that, it was very smoky. Like even at this hour, it would be like very like you have like 50 filters on
Right.
if you're looking outside. It was very bad, like really bad breathing in, and then not very bright,
Mm.
not very good.
Had you ever seen
And it
something
was
like that before?
all not in Pakistan, but here it's like a yearly thing. Every year we have fires.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think that's maybe another reason I couldn't
Mhm.
come to the States. Can't you literally can't breathe the air. You have to pay for the air.
Yeah. Every state has something going on. Like California, it's fires. Florida, it's
Hurricanes.
hurricanes. Yeah. So
Yeah, I enjoyed my trip to the States. Actually, we didn't speak about this. I came into Chicago, I came to North Carolina and Detroit.
yeah, all the
Just
colder states.
yeah, it was quite cold actually. Just before COVID hit. Um,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't a fan of the food. But I was a fan of the people are lovely. Um, but the food I wasn't too impressed. I was thinking, oh, there's gonna be all
Not
this.
even in Chicago?
No,
Oh.
I gen
You didn't go to the right places.
maybe not, but I always thought there was one very nice burger place, and it had one
Mm-hmm.
very nice steak, but I paid a lot for the steak, like a lot. So I mean, I was thinking, well, I can get something similar quality, if not better, back home from a lot cheaper. So
Oh.
I was a little
Yeah,
disappointed.
here. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. You should come to California.
I will
Come
be
to LA.
soon. I don't know when. I don't know when. I've got lots and lots of friends to visit now in California and also family.
Mm.
So I might definitely want to head over.
We can do a podcast in UCLA before I get out of here.
We'll see if anyone's
There
allowed
is an
to.
idea.
That would be really cool if there's because I can bring all this stuff with me. Maybe.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe not the lights. I think the lights are probably too big, but this will probably fit in.
We have pretty light here. See how bright it is
Yeah.
outside.
No, I think that's one of my real aims. Is like, oh, I can go on holiday, but it's not holiday. I'm taking all the podcasting stuff there, and there's someone I've planned to meet, and we're gonna do a podcast, and then we're gonna do like a. Have you seen like YouTube videography when people go on travel videos
Yeah,
like that?
yeah,
Like that. So there's gonna be like a videography travel video of me going to meet this person. Then there's a podcast which is separate,
yeah.
and then there can be
Mm.
like a video about the whole story,
Like a vlog.
the whole story of yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's like
yep,
the
yep.
dream. Um,
Nice.
so,
Do it.
yeah, and there's so many guys out there that I can come and visit. Um,
Yep.
there's some guys from Western. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's the Cam, who's one of my close friends now. There's a ton of guys from UCLA because there's so many of you. It's like 400. Is there 400 in a year or something in the
Well,
in the main
no.
program?
108, including 20 PPIDs in a year
Okay, so there's 400 in the school. Okay,
in the
right, I got
school.
that
Yeah.
mixed up. And then, like you say, there's is it University of Pacific is there as well? There's
Hmm.
lots.
It's in San
Oh, is that a
Francisco.
bit further north? But there's lots of
Hmm.
you guys on the West Coast who I'm supposed to meet.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be fun.
Hmm.
Um,
And you'll enjoy it. If you want
you
Pakistani
reckon?
food, you can come over, eat my mother-in-law's food. You're not gonna get better Pakistani food here.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think that's definitely a good shout. I
Hmm.
really like the not vegan food, but like clean eating, like that kind of food where it's like steaks, and then you
Oh,
get a little sauce, and then you get some healthy veg on the side. That's my
yeah.
kind of thing at the moment.
So my mother-in-law makes really good steaks.
Mm.
Really, really good steaks.
Yeah, you'll have to send me some pictures so I can see.
Okay.
Uh, I've actually started doing reels. Have you seen this reels thing that's going around, which is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Instagram's answer to TikTok?
yeah. Okay.
I'll be doing all my food on there,
Yeah,
so
I've seen some. Yeah.
some guys can see what I'm cooking. And I've actually, by the way, cooked all of that stuff apart from the burgers, which my brother was doing.
Ah,
But I do know how to do. He was just doing those that day because
okay.
I got accused of not actually making the food the other day, which was annoying.
Yeah, not good. not nice.
Yeah. How is life in the States, by the way? Just in general, how do you rate it compared to life in Pakistan?
Before COVID, 100. No, 95, because I don't have
Yeah.
my mom here and my friends here. But I have friends here too. But
Not your
uh,
childhood friends. It's different.
yeah, after COVID, not so much.
Hmm.
Like we're just at home all the time. We go for hikes and whatnot. The other day we went to a hike, but there was a heat wave. We tried going early in the morning, but
Yeah.
then it got really hot, so I got really dehydrated. So much to a point where my husband had to like pour water over my head so I can breathe a little bit better.
Yeah.
It was very bad. It got really bad.
No,
But
I can
then,
imagine that would be very, very uncomfortable and probably just want to roll back down the hill and go home.
so it was like a reverse hike. So going to the waterfall, it was downhill.
Okay.
And then after, like it was up the hill, it was bad. Then heat and me being out of shape. And then it was all sorts of things.
Mm. Yeah, I've not done enough walking really. I'll be honest. We're trying to set up a gym at home because
Oh, we have
I've
gym set up outside.
you do. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Mm.
So I've got a little bit fat. I mean, you can't really tell because I've done some press ups and stuff, but anything below here has been ignored. Um, unfortunately, so
Yeah.
I really
Yep.
need to get back into it. But you feel the difference, like
Yes.
if
Yep.
you were fit before
Yeah.
and now 6 months just sitting around, like,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
I'll have some more spaghetti, please.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that Zoom quarter was tough because I like to eat if I'm watching something, and then when you're just watching all the lectures all day, every day, then you're just eating and having coffee and chai, and I don't know how much chai and coffee I had those 3 months of that quarter. And then
yeah,
there was Ramzan in the middle, so I would just sleep. So
you that would just hold that held me in not becoming so large I can't fit in this screen. That held me at the good point. Otherwise, I was in real trouble.
oh
Um,
no.
yeah, I think it's interesting though because our food, Pakistani food, is so heavy,
Yeah.
and it's not until I've got to this age, unfortunately, I really feel it when
Yeah,
I'm
you
eating
feel
it
it.
now.
Yep. My
So,
brother-in-law says that in our house, it's a war to lose weight. Yeah, you're
yeah, it's
fighting
the
a war.
food.
And then there's good food, so you cannot even say no to it.
Yeah, it's this is the fight that I'm having at the moment because I'm telling my mom and grandma's in the house as well, which is another reason I'm not working. We did want to catch something and bring it to the house, so
I
um,
understand.
I'm now a YouTuber, guys. So make
Hmm.
sure you hit subscribe. um, but it's one of those things, with arthritis, even for dentists, you a lot of inflammation sitting down all the time,
Yeah,
cutting those carbs out, cutting the sugars out. I have too much sugar
it's
in my
very hard.
tea. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the big fight. But obviously, everyone else wants to have, you know, salan and rice and naan or whatever. And it's me going, I'm just going to have some broccoli and chicken.
Oh, wow. And then there's salan with so much oil in it. You can, okay, so I'm gonna be very
Yeah.
honest. I cook food too, and it's very hard to make Pakistani food without oil. It's very
Yeah.
hard.
I I bought avocado oil to try and make it
Oh,
healthier. I don't know if it's going to make a
we
difference.
use olive oil,
Yeah.
if that
That's
makes sense.
that's that's better than using the standard corn oil or veg oil, right?
Ah, yeah, yeah. Or
Mm.
butter.
See, over here, I don't know if they have this in the States, but you can go to the Pakistani shop or the Indian shop, and you can buy what I can only describe as a drum of oil.
Okay.
Do you know, like
Really?
a big,
Like a
like a
canister.
huge thing that you might stick onto a barbecue to but they
Mm.
pour it in the food to cook in,
Oh, wow.
and we're
Oh.
talking 20-25 liters of oil. And why is there normal people in their house buying 25 liters of oil? I do not understand.
we get
Seriously.
we get like big canisters of oil when we have some event in our house. Like when my mother-in-law is cooking a lot of food for
Yeah,
like 500 people.
but yeah, I mean,
So
there's no one living with 500 people in the house here, I don't think. I would hope not anyway. That'd be very, very uncomfortable
no, no,
size of
no, no,
household.
no. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's something that I've really noticed because I don't know if because I was so young. You know, when you're younger, you can just get away with all the bad food in the world because I'm running around playing football. I'm going to the gym,
Yeah.
and now
Your metabolism is faster too.
mm, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've been sitting around, I can feel my legs have got smaller. So there's the muscle to eat all that food has gone away, and I can feel
Yeah.
it just building up. And then that's when you just kind of realize we've gone way off topic
Yeah.
here, way off topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Um, I think we've probably kept a bit too much of your time with the false start with trying to go live. Uh,
That's okay. No worries
but it's
about
been
it.
great to catch up again. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch
Mm-hmm.
up at the end of your next chapter for sure at some point,
Okay.
and probably in the next
Yeah.
24-hour live stream because I think I'm doing it again next year.
Oh wow. Okay. All
It
right.
might be a yearly thing. I had Ali. I don't know if you saw Ali Altaf. He was the founder from RCF. We spoke to him the other day,
Oh yeah. 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 I saw that.
and
Yeah.
I think it sounds like I'm gonna have to do it again because they were very upset that I didn't have my head shaved.
Oh, you should do it.
Yeah,
I think it's due.
no, because I had to shave it if they got to £10,000. We only
Yeah.
got to about five, 4.5, 5. So really, I didn't fail.
Oh.
It was the guys watching. You didn't quite make me look stupid. So try again harder next time, please.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but thank you for coming on. I hope the guys who've
You're
watched,
welcome.
sorry if you tried to watch live. We had some real sound issues, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully everything that we spoke about today is going to make things a bit clearer and also hopefully be enjoyable. I think we both enjoyed it, and hopefully you
Mm-hmm.
should too. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked a lot about things that were not related to dentistry, but that's okay. That's fun.
That's the point of the podcast, a bit of dentistry and a bit of random whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
It was good.
yeah. So thank you to guys for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe, like, no, it's like, comment, and subscribe. That's the way it goes. And hit the
Mm-hmm.
notification bell if you want to get a notification when we put more videos up, which you do. So hit that one. And a big thank you to everybody on the Patreon group who has funded the new microphone and the little card that makes me able to use my camera as a video camera. So thank you to the guys in the Patreon group. And if you want to join the fun guys over there, we have a nice chat room and a few other perks, then check that out. The link is going to be down below.